Guys, it's all good. And of course, 99.9 HD2 620 and the buzz, 104.5 FM. That's how you catch us on the radio. So we everywhere. You have no excuse but to lock into us. Hey, like I said, we have a variety. So we just talked about a big event that's going on Monday. But that's several things are happening this month. Juneteenth, all over the place. But we're so pleased to have a talented individual up in the building, man. I'm talking about has an affinity for things that I'm very much interested in, which is clothing and designs and fashion and trending and things of that nature. And I seen this guy around all the time. I was like, man, this guy, he dressed pretty nice. Kind of like dressed like me. And he
got a better eye.
So I said, hey man, people kind of trend, kind of draw each other in. Why you look at me like that? Anyway, we're so happy, man, that there's an event going on, but the guy that's behind it, he has an organization called Suited in Success, man, and he's in the building. Welcome to the Sports Shop for the first time. Mark Taylor, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh man, I'm just repeating a question I asked you before you came on, man. Mm-hmm. This whole clothing thing, how did that get started, and what was the impetus of really getting involved in clothing, things and things?
Yeah,
or design.
So as I said before, I've always liked fashion, mm-hmm. and really my dad is kind of an example of the style that I like. I mean, he always dressed up for work and so forth. So, mm-hmm. but what really got me into this is my wife.
I can imagine. I know you.
Yeah, yeah. She was having an event. She was having an anniversary for her line.
Okay.
And they all had a theme that they were going to do a photo shoot for, and so it was getting down to the nitty gritty, and she's a little bit of a last minute shopper, and I just was afraid that she wasn't going to be able to meet this aesthetic that they were trying to achieve. And so I had been watching some videos on YouTube on how to make clothes, because the intent was I was going to make my own clothes. But so I got brave enough, and I went to Joann's. I bought some fabric, and she said it was okay, like as far as like the color. I made a dress, and she loved it, and man, it just. Blew my head up, and so from then on, I was hooked. I was hooked on that feeling.
Yeah, hey man.
Hey, look, you should be hooked on just the fact you made it and your wife liked it.
Right. Yeah.
That part. Yeah.
Because she's real stylish, so for her to love that. We're talking to Mark Taylor with Suited Success. So tell us more about this organization.
Yeah, so we started it about 2014, and it was just kind of really by chance that we did. That was a couple of people close to me, kind of two different scenarios that they needed some professional attire, but I was able to help them out. And I was thinking about it, I was like, man, I really, to my knowledge, I didn't know of any organizations that really kind of focused on men. I was familiar with Dress for Success and, some other organizations that help women. Not to say that they weren't there. I just was unfamiliar with them. And so I just said, well, you know what? I'll just take it upon myself to try to do what little bit I can. And so we reached out to people, got donations, and we got connected with some organizations, around the triangle to let them know that, we had the service, and, we would try to help any people that they had that needed assistance.
So expound a little bit on the name Suited in Success and how that relates to your overall mission.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a play on Dress for Success, so men wear suits, so we will suit them in success. And because, the primary goal in the beginning was to provide professional attire for job interviews. And so, I didn't realize Dion had said this a long time ago, but, he was right. If you look good, you feel good. Yeah. If you feel good, you play good. And if you play good, they pay good. That type of thing. There you go. But, really, that's it. If you look good, then you feel good. You got a little bit of different pep in your step, And so I felt that was very important. And one of our statements is, you only get one chance to make a first impression. And so, I have found just in life in general, if you look smart, you don't have to convince people that you're smart. You actually have to prove that you're not You know, if you aren't, and you know, if you are smart but you don't look it, then you got to work that hard to prove them that you know something. So yeah.
Outstanding, man. We're talking with Mark Taylor Designs, and you know, one of the things that I wanted to ask is just thinking about it because I've known you before you started,
right?
And and now seeing through this whole process, is there anything that you've probably experienced along the way? Being in New York, being in LA, having your own runway stuff. Is there anything that you experienced that you probably said, "Wow, I didn't think it was really like this"?
Yeah, well, I mean, really, to be honest with you, the whole thing, the behind the scenes of a fashion show can be extremely chaotic, and but and I had no idea. To be honest with you, man, I didn't even know. I did not envision myself doing this prior to 2019,
right. Yeah.
And so the just the whole experience, but it's going to New York was quite an experience, and actually I went twice. I went twice last year. I went in February, and then from that event, someone reached out to me and asked me to come back in September, and so it's been a blast.
Oh man, we having a great conversation with Mark Taylor, who again suited in success and the creator of the Red and Black on the Green fashion show. So let's get into that.
Yeah, man.
So tell us all about that.
So we started this in 2023. Yeah. So this is our third year.
Okay.
And it was a way to do a couple things. Part of the proceeds of the event will go to Suited in Success. Okay. Since we have that's a charitable initiative. We're not making money, so that's a way to kind of help bring in some funds to help outfit men when we don't have stuff in inventory. Since everything is mostly donated. But then it was a way to also showcase my designs, right? Yes. And so I tried to blend a couple things, and then we have it around Juneteenth, so kind of add the little cultural thing into it, which kind of plays on the name, red and black on the green. Yeah,
okay.
So
Yeah.
Wow. So I mean, I saw some of the pictures, man. So they got the runway thing going. It's several people participating in this. Talk about the lineup and that kind of thing.
So we have some great designers and boutique owners.
Sure.
One of the guys you all may know. Y'all know James Abram?
I know the name.
In Durham, Jada Men's.
Yeah.
So last year I invited James to come on, and he did it. And man, I tell you what, when he went on, the energy level just went up, man. The women fell in love with the guys when they came down the runway all the styles and stuff.
Okay.
And so he'll be back again this year. We also have Felicia from Felicia House of Fashion, and she's also a boutique owner in Holly Springs, I believe.
Okay.
And so we got two new designers. One is from Greensboro, and her name's Jasmine, and her brand is called Kitty and Rose. And this, I really love it. She calls it the adult Barbie style. That's kind of her style, but she has some really nice things. I think you would really appreciate it. And then Pete he's from Charlotte, and his brand is called Ozzy Nicole. And he does bespoke men's wear, and then he now has added a ready-to-wear women's collection.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and then Quaylen Murphy of WTVD, the meteorologist, she's going to be our MC this year. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So this makes us want to be there quick and in a hurry.
Absolutely.
So tell us, how can we get tickets?
Yeah, so you can go to Eventbrite, and I would just search the red and black on the green, and it should pop right up. And then from there, you can purchase your tickets there. And tickets are still available, but they're going fast. But they are still available, and they are on sale up until Friday night. I think we have it set to like 10 p.m.
Okay.
We have to cut it off at a certain point,
right?
Yeah, because we're not selling at the door.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I again talking to Mark Taylor and talking about assortment of things, but what's next for Mark Taylor? What's you got next on the agenda?
Well, immediately is to put on the successful show next week, and then we have I have something international in coming up in December, but.
I think I saw something. Right
I've kept that. I kept that on the wraps. Yeah, this is this is breaking news here.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm just working on trying to take the brand to another level because eventually I want to position myself so that I am in boutiques or retail stores and things like that. So that's the goal. That's what I'm working towards.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that is
awesome.
very nice. So, Mark, since you've been now, I can you're officially a designer. You're in the fashion industry, the fashion world. As an African American designer, talk a little bit about the business, what you've learned so far, as the ins and outs. Especially being a new designer.
Yeah,
and I can speak for myself. We don't know much about the fashion inside,
right?
Of the business, the business, so to speak.
Yeah,
inside the game. Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. Kind of what you've seen.
Well, I'll be honest. I'm still learning, so there's a lot that I don't know. But from what I've seen, that you really have to. I think a lot of it is luck. Okay. And luck in the sense that you get the right person to wear your garment, and then all of a sudden you're in, and because I've seen some designers that are just phenomenal, but nobody knows them. And then but then there's others, and not to say that they're not good, but they've all oftentimes have said that they've had somebody to wear their outfit, and someone asks, where'd you get that from? And then next thing you know, stuff picks up. And so, and there's a guy that I know in Connecticut, and he and I go back and forth on Instagram. And we were actually in a show together in New York back in February, but he's been in the game for a while, and now he's just now starting to get traction. So it's kind of one of those things where it is a it's one of those things where you had to put in some work before your time really comes. So
hey, look, the John Morant story.
Yeah,
they didn't recruit you at first, but now they did.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Oh, that's great. Hey, I mean, not only John Morant does a radio show I'm familiar with. That,
you got that right.
And it's funny, again, we talking to Mark Taylor when you talked about your evolution, and you really didn't know, you're still learning.
Yeah.
That's how I was. So we've been rocking on this for 15 years. So
oh wow.
So it's we just started doing it.
Yeah.
Just try to make.
I think that's it, man. You just got to start doing stuff because if you're gonna wait till you know everything, then you never do it.
Yeah, be careful if Earl Reese called you 15 years ago and asked you to go to lunch. you may find yourself doing something you never done before. But look at it now.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely.
But how, are there many people that look like you in this space? It's kind of leading into what Kmac was saying by African American designers in nature.
Well, yeah, I'd say, for the majority of the shows that I've been a part of, outside of the one in New York and the ones in New York and LA, the majority of the designers have been black. Listen, like everything, there's levels to this game.
Sure.
And so,
you're right.
You're right. I mean, you think of sports, you have how many, middle school basketball players, and then that kind of narrows down in middle school and then high school and college. So so there are a lot of people out there that design and make clothes and do things. And I say one thing unique about me is I design and I sew my garments, where some people may just design and then some people may just they don't design it, but they sew. So I do a little bit of both.
That's awesome. We are talking to designer Mark Taylor. So tell us, or tell our listeners, how to follow you.
Yeah, so you can go to Instagram, and that's probably where I'm the most active currently on Instagram, and that is Mark Taylor Designs with a Z on the end. And if you want to check out some of my lovely garments, you can go to mtdfashion.com. And if you look for me on Facebook, it's Mark Taylor Designs as well. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Outstanding. Last question for me, Mark, is there are a lot of, and I didn't realize this till a few years ago. There are a lot of young people that really, they like designing, clothes, and they get into fashion, which, I guess you can imagine they always want to create their own style. As a young high schooler or middle schooler, somebody that's interested in, I think they're interested in design or clothing, what kind of advice would you give for them?
Yeah, well, I would say, one, just start. And even if it doesn't look good at first, just start. YouTube you.
You're undefeated. Undefeated.
Is undefeated. And then try to find someone like a mentor. I didn't go to school for this. Again, I went to YouTube U, and where I learned a lot of stuff. And there are a lot of there are so much content out there, and so you can learn a lot of things, but it's nice to have somebody kind of standing over your shoulder showing you how to do this, and kind of pointing where you're going right or going wrong. So that would be my advice. And don't let people discourage you. Just because they haven't done it doesn't mean you can't do it. Yeah,
man. Again, we're talking to Mark Taylor, who's a designer and have a great event coming up, the Red and Black on the Green Fashion Show. I got a question, just technical, not even technical though. Do you, when I look at fashions, because I joked around a little bit, but I do look at a lot of things. So a lot of things be retro, where we've got the vintage suits and sometimes they're not vintage. So do you look at those trends like that, or anything of that nature?
Well, just as a person who likes fashion, yes. Now, when it comes to making my garments, not quite as much. Because there is a little bit of a process of what I make and why I make it, or even how I make it. So, but. And you kind of know the styles, kind of cycle, every 20, every 25 years.
That's so true.
Yeah,
so, especially with suits and stuff.
Yeah, hopefully those 2000 suits don't come back in, the big boxy ones, hopefully those don't come back in.
Those zoot suits, I call them, man. Steve Harvey suits.
I didn't want to say his name.
They can keep those.
Hey, look, they're not coming because
that's like wearing a sheet.
To put all the material together, it costs more money.
Man, what are you talking about? Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, they can keep those. I never got into those, man.
See, now you feed into my conspiracy theory.
What conspiracy theory that, Kmac?
I think y'all making these clothes smaller because y'all don't want to spend that much money.
Hey, real talk, just to add on to that, look, let me say this. I don't know how much time we got, but
we got a couple minutes.
I have a lot of Annette's friends will say, Mark needs to make stuff for curvy girls. And I'm like, well, I can make it for a curvy girl, but coming down the runway, look, fabric costs, man. So, fabric costs.
There goes my question.
Wait a minute. So, wait a minute. Yeah. Is a curvy girl term is a substitute for another name?
Look, I'm leaving it at that.
I'm just saying. Big boned. Hey, look, you big boned girls. What about big boned girls?
Yeah, look, what's the one thing you can say about cold grits?
I have no idea what is that.
They thick.
You know what? Mark, get us out of here by telling us.
That's a Mississippi. That's straight out of Law, Mississippi right there. I ain't never heard that before in my life. I have never heard that before in my life. But I like it.
He lied.
Well, you're stupid. Big bone. We call it big bone. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We're going to get back to fashion. Mark Taylor, before we leave, just anything else you would want to tell us about your show, about your brand?
Yes. So, again, the event is June 21st from 7 to 9 p.m. It is in the Courtyard by Marriott Hotel, which is I think the address is 1008 Parkside Commons in Cary, North Carolina. Did I say that? Okay, great.
Is that over?
It's over near. It's in that
Improv.
It's in that same shopping center where Raleigh Improv is. That's correct. And please come out. Exactly I think you will enjoy yourself. I say it's a grown and sexy event, and I've been saying that this is the premier fashion event that kicks off the summer in the Triangle area. So and then follow me on Instagram and Facebook to keep up with some things that are coming. So I got something that I'm dropping next week in addition to the fashion show. So
That's a nice tease right there, man. I'm trying to tell you.
Well, with you and all your celebrity friends, you feel free to tag the sports shop and all of them.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Exactly, man. But no, again, congratulations on your success thus far. Keep it going, man.
Well done.
Obviously, we're so proud of what you're doing, man. And,
appreciate it.
Just keep the party going and appreciate what you're doing in the community.
North Carolina standing up. North Carolina. Where did you go to high school? What's high school you go?
Northern Nash, baby.
Northern Nash.
Nice. Yeah.
Northern Nash.
Yeah.
You can do it too.
Yeah.